Well, a good morning, good evening, good afternoon to you, wherever you are in the world. I'm here in Perth, Western Australia. I don't know what it's like for you, but today we're looking at 38 degrees Celsius. So it's going to be a stinking hot day today. I think I'll be hiding inside with the air conditioner and doing a lot of work on my videos. Not sure about you. But anyway, rather than dribble on about how hot it is, I would like to say thank you for visiting the channel. Welcome to Lorena's Labyrinth. If you're a returning visitor, welcome back. As always, a reminder that when I do these videos, I do put in timing chapters in the video description so that you can jump to the areas that you're interested in. I think I will probably be able to stay on track today when it comes to Ametrine, which of course is the subject and the crystal that we're looking at today, because actually I don't have a lot of experience with it, but it is certainly one that I think is an incredible crystal that would add value, at least metaphysically and emotionally, to anybody's crystal collection. So without further ado, let's get on with it. So in the first instance, when we look at Ametrine, we can see immediately it's got purple quartz in it. You know, we'll talk about the mineral components in a little while, but it is extremely striking by appearance. This is in the natural state, its natural form, and you can see these two distinct bands, which is just so incredible. I don't know about you, but obviously I'm one of these people. I just love crystals, and I really love unique, original type crystals, and I love them when they've got a strength of color in them. Now, so first of all, I'm going to say here, and I'm going to disprove it as we go through this video, there is this common perception that amethyst or the ametrine, well, that it's called ametrine because it is a mix of purple amethyst with citrine, which is actually mistaken, despite the fact you're going to see this all over the internet, especially when it comes to retailers. I'll talk about that why in a moment. As far as the Astro and Zodiac is concerned, Ametrine can actually, well, actually, I need to put this disclaimer up there. I'm not actually a person that will say that, well, it's not, I guess it's not something that I've actually studied or looked at. That's the thing. When it comes to numerology, I've done a lot of testing of the theory. When it comes to astrology, that's not my field of expertise, and I haven't tested it a lot. And I think what we would find if we were testing the theory, if I'd ever bothered to go that direction, was that if I had crystals out, then I would be able to with my customers and saying, pick one, what one are you drawn to? Then I probably would notice things such as which crystal a person is drawn to. And if I'd done my identifying what star sign they are, then I would be able to link that with the star sign. So this is not out in my expertise is where I'm going. This is stuff that I rely on other people's information to say. And I have noticed that the Indian astrologers associate crystals with the rays and the horoscope. So I tend to rely on them more when it comes to associating a crystal with the Zodiac. But either way, I'm digressing. Where I'm going with this is there are recommendations apparently that Ametrine is suited to all of the Astro Zodiac signs, sun signs, but in particular Pisces and Sagittarius. So I must start, as part of my service delivery these days, trying to make links between the Zodiac signs and the people and the crystals that they're drawn to. And on these images, you see that old proof, if you like, that when it comes to a crystal, no two are the same. So the one that I showed you when we were talking about the appearance was basically a perfect specimen, top of the range, top grade, probably cost a fortune to buy. This particular one here doesn't have those clear distinct layers, but you can still see that there is the yellow streak within the purple. But from a metaphysical perspective, it's said to offer the attributes of balancing properties of amethyst and citrine. This is what we see, but actually it's not citrine, right? So it's actually a balance of, oh, I'm going to save that bit. Let's just say it is definitely a stone of balance and connection. It definitely is believed to carry the attributes of mental and emotional stabilization if people have got disorders. We'll look at this stuff more specifically further in the video, or if you want to jump to it, you can just go to the timing stamps. It offers clarity. It offers spiritual connection, it offers strength, and it certainly encourages a person on their spiritual path to basically achieve spiritual enlightenment. And you don't have to have big chunks of a crystal to be able to draw upon the attributes of it. So it's a very unique crystal. And I'll talk about it more. We'll talk about the mineral content now. Now, before I get into the mineral content, though, I have to actually explain to people and acknowledge the image that I've got here, because this really is an incredible photograph of the Ametrine in its natural state. Now, I've sourced it from a website called MindAt, which is a geology website and where I get a lot of my mineral information, if not all of it. I've come to rely upon it. And this particular image has a copyright to a photographer called Rue Smith. Now, if you want to establish if the piece that you've got is a genuine article, MindAt is a really good place to see a number of different photographs for most crystals. As you can see anyway, this is a slice. This is apparently a lump of Ametrine that has been sliced, and it has the pinwheel effect, okay? Now, as I said before, we know it by the name Ametrine, most of us, if we're into metaphysics and crystal collecting, but its real name is actually Tristine, and its trade name is called, how do you pronounce it? Bolivianite, okay? So, as I said, it has been called Ametrine because there is this belief by even the gemologists, okay? I've been to reputable websites where these are gemologists, and we would be calling them experts, and where they propagate, shall we say, this myth that Ametrine is a mix of purple amethyst and citrine. So it's not. I'll explain to you why in a moment. Ametrine is a member of the quartz family, and it certainly does contain the purple amethyst, evidentially, but the yellow part that is being referred to as citrine is actually properly called, according to MindAt, and I probably will mispronounce this, okay, ferruginous quartz. Basically, I'm just going to call it yellow quartz. It's not yellow quartz, but because the word is just a bit of a mouthful. Okay, it's so called, that's its proper name, but it's actually named so. If you know anything about minerals, anything that's got that ferro bit to it means it's about iron. So the yellow part of Ametrine is actually based on iron content, not on citrine. And I have to say, it really threw me off because even visiting the gemologist websites, I was seeing it was citrine. But I'm going to say there is a reason why some Ametrine actually will legitimately have citrine, but it won't be the natural citrine, okay? It won't be the legitimate citrine that comes out of Bolivia. Now, just to put this into perspective for you as far as rarity goes, it is an extremely rare crystal. It is found only in Bolivia. Okay, this is the Bolivianite. So I'm going to stop calling it Ametrine at the moment to be able to differentiate it. And the beautiful image that I had on the first slide about what it looks like, where the yellow part of it was really golden, that is most definitely from Bolivia. Now, as I say, it's extremely rare. And what was I going to say? As far as hardness goes, because it's part of the quartz family, it still has, 10 is the hardest, but 7 is not too bad. It can withstand a lot, but it still can break. So from what I understand, the stuff that's got the really brilliant gold in it, that's from Brazil. Apparently there is other mine sites where you can source a similar type of product to the Bolivianite, but it doesn't have the same depth. I'm open to correction with this, so if you know, please let me know, or make a comment, certainly invite you to. What I do understand, though, is that even still it's very rare wherever it may come from. And it is often mistaken for other crystals in its natural state. So this is what makes Ametrine very interesting, but also very confusing for a buyer. So probably if you're going to do buying, you actually need to, this is where we need to have those relationships with the person that we're buying it from, where it's a trusting relationship. And we know that if they're actually going to be selling it, that it is from the source that they say that they've got it from. And usually a good vendor actually is a person that travels the world and goes to the actual mine sites, or certainly very close to them, where the stuff is produced. Now, just to put this into perspective, there are some confusion even for some retailers, I think, from what I see. I believe, I'm not 100% sure, that sometimes Ametrine is confused for Super 7 or what is known as Melody Stone, because of the variations. But more importantly, it's actually quite often sold as a genuine article when it's actually synthetically produced. So, as I said, the genuine article is extremely rare, but you can buy the fake stuff all over the place. The website is absolutely littered with fake Ametrine when you go and have a look at it. And this could be on Etsy, it could be on eBay or whatever. And the way that you actually tell whether or not it's a genuine article or not sometimes can be a little bit difficult. Okay, because once again, when we look at this big central image that we've got here in the middle with the paler type purple, it's got lighter yellow as well. That actually, when you compare it to the image with the really golden stuff, that looks fake, but it's not. That actually is the real McCoy. That is the genuine article of Ametrine. It just doesn't have the same depth of colours as the other ones. And because, obviously it's not part of a pinwheel, it is a select part of the original, I suppose. I'm not 100% sure. I don't know the history of that photograph. I'm just trying to point out the colour variations. But anyway, when you look at it like that in the rough as being a genuine article, and then you look over at the cut and polished gemstone, if you like, on the right-hand side below my little green woman image where I've put fake Ametrine, you could easily or be forgiven for thinking that fake Ametrine there is actually the real McCoy, but it's not, okay? What I learned is the Russians are absolutely incredible, and they have actually learned how to grow Ametrine in their lab, but I'm not sure. I don't have enough knowledge there. And certainly I'm not going to research these things forever. I'll just put it to the universe and let you guys come back and give me some information. But my understanding is that the Russians learned back in the 1990s how to grow it in the lab. So when I say it's fake Ametrine, it depends on your perspective, because I did see a discussion, because there actually is quite a few discussion threads where people will put up their gemstones and say, what have I got here, and let the professionals come back and give some information. And there was a question with a person putting up fake Ametrine basically and saying, is this real Ametrine or fake? And somebody came back and said, well, it depends on your perspective, because the bottom line is, if it is produced in Russia, it's grown from seed, basically seed crystals. And you will have seen seed crystal kits out. Kids can grow them at home now. It's all a lot of fun. But anyway, they have, now I'm talking about the Russians, they produce this Ametrine of this colour that I'm calling fake, and they sell it throughout the world as Ametrine. So it has the same mineral component, I say allegedly with this, but perhaps the issue is not, how would I say it? Maybe it is a mix of the Ametrine and citrine. Maybe this is where this whole gemology stuff comes in, where they say Ametrine is a mix of the purple amethyst with the citrine, and then you see the geologists turning around and saying, no, it's not. Ametrine is iron and purple amethyst. The recommendations is anyway that if you have a high quality retailer or vendor, that when they sell these crystals, if they're selling something like Ametrine, which will, because of its rarity and the genuine article, will attract actually really steep prices for a good piece, then it should come with a certificate of provenance. So as luck would have it, when I was doing my research on this business of how do you separate the fake, the buyers like you and me that are out there trying to buy a piece of Ametrine, how do we know if we're buying the legitimate or a fake from Russia? And I stumbled upon this research paper, so I've put the link in there as a reference, because I also grabbed these photographs off it, and this is just part of it. So if you happen to be a jeweler or gemologist or whatever, and you've got your little microscope glass thing that you look at crystals with, you would be able to tell the difference, because apparently there are some things that can't be manufactured in the lab. And so basically it's the makeup. If you look at it under a microscope, apparently these little bubbles that we see on that little inserted left-hand image, they are part of the natural makeup of the Bolivianite, and that can't be manufactured in a lab. So it is primarily about color. Okay, that's the first indicator as to whether or not it's the real deal or not. The carved oval pear-shaped cabochons on the left, they are the genuine Ametrine. The ones on the right are Russian, apparently. So what the paper is basically saying is it's about the color, and it is about the clarity and the bubbles. This is how you tell the difference. But if you are a gemologist yourself or whatever, you can go and view this research paper. It's easily accessible online. I've put the link up there so that you can find it with ease. And when the gemologists are able to identify it accurately, that will certainly go a long way for the rest of us. Now, the other thing too that I was going to say, from a buying perspective, I guess if we're into crystal healing and the attributes, the only issue with buying, or the only real difference or problem might be, is if you're actually buying Ametrine because you want to have the properties of citrine, because the real stuff's not going to have citrine in it. What it has is the iron. And I'm going to do a video, I think, on iron in the not too distant future, because that is actually an underrated mineral as far as metaphysics go, because it's not strikingly pretty, but it's got some really incredible attributes. And when we combine the attributes, and of course we're talking from a metaphysical perspective, of amethyst with iron, you've got a pretty amazing crystal. So to go more specifically into the detail, the attributes, and I'm talking about the genuine article. So when I do my research, of course, into this stuff, into the crystals, mine might be a little bit different to other people. And you will find this anyway as you go into crystals or anything of a spiritual nature, is that there is common threads and then there are variations, because the variations are basically what comes down to our individual experiences and our own understanding. So for me, I have created this list based on purple amethyst and iron, not on citrine. So just be aware of this. So I'm looking at the genuine article here. So when it comes to Ametrine's spiritual or energetic attributes, it's said to promote spiritual growth and transformation, along with, this heightened consciousness and awareness of, the brother and sisterhood. And to put this into perspective, when we're talking about the brother-sister consciousness, this is about recognizing that each one of us, although we may be born physically of a family unit, but in God's eyes, we're all part of the Creator's family. Energetically, we are all brothers and sisters. But, the same with any family, shall we say, or any person on earth, we do have a soul pack. We have those people that we are aligned with and connected with, and there is... Yeah, it's a little bit difficult to explain right now. I will have to do a video on that. But basically, the brother and sister consciousness goes beyond the do unto others as you would have them do unto you. It is a recognition when we hurt somebody, we're actually hurting ourselves. Okay, there's no doing to one person that we don't actually get a consequence for. And when we recognize this consciousness, and we would never actively go out to hurt another person. Okay. So other attributes of Ametrine is this business of manifestation. That's associated with the purple amethyst, prosperity, abundance, success. And now the iron aspect of Ametrine is one that is really of heightened protection, where it acts as an shield against negativity. So that being the case, it protects a person energetically when they travel the higher realms. So it enhances communication and connection, astral travel, connection with the celestial beings, and it brings blessings, an abundance of blessings and good fortune to a person, and it helps a person to be able to see through the eyes of love and non-judgment. As always, when it comes to the physical healing attributes of a crystal, there has to be this disclaimer and recommendation that you do not disengage from your treating mental health or physical health specialists when it comes to physical concerns. You can include crystals as part of the treatment plan and not have a conflict, shall we say. It's just that little bit of extra boost, shall we say. And also, when it comes to the physical, metaphysical benefits, I also have to put this disclaimer up personally, I feel, to say that, this is information I've come across. It's not necessarily part of my experience or the experience that I know that people have had through conversations. If I have, like, for instance, I am aware of one person who reacted with a release of the bowels after working with Ametrine, but the other ones, such as organ transplant to help assimilate into the body, that is way outside of my experience. I don't know anybody that has gone through that, but I also feel if somebody has said it, they must have seen it themselves or are aware of that. And so from my perspective, it's like, okay, well, I'll put it up there, but I'm more interested in hearing from people if they actually felt that this was the impact on them. I'm not sure how that they would be able to justify and support the idea of oxygenation of the body, unless, of course, somebody maybe had breathing difficulties and noticed an improvement in their lung capacity that obviously won't be evidence-based after working with the crystal. But anyway, going back to the metaphysical benefits, okay, it's supposed to be recommended for chronic fatigue, people that have got constipation, bowel issues, nervous stomach, as I said, the organ transplant and oxygenation of the body. We're talking about blood circulation there, I believe. If people have got addictions and need to lose some weight, apparently it supports overcoming addiction and overcoming, I guess being overweight, really. I don't know. I'm interested to hear if that worked for you. When we talk about purification and detoxification of the body, because this is physical body, once again, I think we're looking at blood circulation and waste elimination. And realistically, if you've got all of that happening, it makes sense that the final one of physical strength actually is there as part of the benefits of working with Ametrine. So with crystals, when it comes to the emotional and mental attributes of a crystal, I'm far more comfortable to acknowledge these. But then I think I've spent a lot of time studying mental health and those kind of things and emotional well-being. And so it's, I guess, easier for me to integrate this into my own personal understanding. And I can understand how Ametrine and these key points work together. Okay, so it's considered to be, from an emotional and psychological perspective, an empowerer, one that leads to self-mastery. And this is about the balancing and the harmonizing of the mind and thoughts with the spirit, the desires, the feelings, the hopes. And then the body is about physically acting, putting into practice the thoughts and ideas that come to us. So self-awareness is expanded through the use of Ametrine. I must say, claims may help. But this will make sense to you as well, I'm sure, that when we reflect enough, we get to know ourselves. We get to know how we're going to react in any given situation. We know what will trigger us. We know what will take us away from our peaceful core. And when we've got that level of insight, then we can start putting in place behavior plans, if you like, and thought repatterning to make sure that when these situations arise, that we respond to the best of our abilities. So to be able to get to the level of self-mastery, we have to have mastered our thoughts before anything else. So, and you only do that from a calm space, by the way. If you're just living basically from this emotional reactive space, we call that in the mental health field living in the brainstem. We have to be able to bring those emotions and process them to the front of the brain and unpack them so that we can actually make changes in our personal environment. So anyway, Ametrine is said to calm any anxiety and stress a person might have. this, of course, when we've got this calm emotional state, we've got that inner peace, we're able to get a greater clarity of thought, we're able to focus and concentrate, we're able to solve problems, and the more we know ourselves, the easier it is to actually solve the problems. And then when we process, because we're able to focus and concentrate, then that's going to inform how we make our decisions, and we're going to be making better decisions. Now, strength is not just about your physical body, it is also about your mental resilience, psychological resilience, and emotional resilience, being able to cope, okay? So it's said to strengthen those attributes or those parts of ourselves as well. It's said to give courage and fortitude and determination to actually, I guess, continue this path of self-mastery. If you've got emotional blockages, and they can occur quite easily, they would be our triggers, okay? It's said to clear and release these and to transform the negative to the positive. Now, when we've got all of that happening, of course, our relationships with other people are going to improve, because the bottom line is we're not lashing out from pain all the time. We're coming from a space of inner peace and love. And even when we have conflict, because conflict is a normal part of life, it's certainly when we're interacting with other people. But if we can maintain our equilibrium when we're having conversations and interacting with other people, we're going to experience relationship improvement. So, from a chakra perspective, I would actually say that Ametrine in itself, when it's the legit article, is actually for all of the chakras. It will work with all of them and expand them, because to me it's an all-rounder. But at the same time, it is probably best suited to the crown and the solar plexus and even the sacral chakra. And then I would go as far as saying the earth star, that chakra that's about 1 foot beneath your feet, as part of your aura. And this is because, of course, to be able to access the higher realms, we have to be able to let go of fear and anger and all of this kind of stuff, the unhelpful emotional reactions. And we have to have a full transformation in our physical existence, we have to actually be well grounded and not off with the fairies. It's all very well to say, I'm connected to the angels. I'm not putting anybody down here, okay? I'm just saying that when you are off and connected to the angels all the time, as in wandering around, what would I try and compare it to? Just basically, literally, we might turn around and say these people are off with the fairies because they're out there, they're not managing and controlling their gifts, they're just living each day in the higher realms because it feels nice. They're using, actually, that's what I'm trying to explain. When they start using the higher realms and the angelic or celestial beings as a method of escapism, they're not actually actively walking the path on the earth plane. And part of the path includes activation. It means getting out there, putting the spiritual, the mental into action to walk on this planet Earth. And so to do that, we've got to be grounded. This is where the Earth star comes in. Now, ideally with Ametrine, because we're talking about balance, of course, that would mean, I'm trying to look, it could get a bit complex here, okay, because I might be jumping ahead of myself. If you've got questions or you want to make your own suggestions, that is fine by me. I invite you to. Bottom line is, when our body, mind, and spirit is in balance, it's like we are the bobbin on the string, okay? It's like we have a thread going from our crown to the celestial realms, and we have the threads from beneath our feet going to the center, the core of the earth. These, of course, are energetic. And we, in our little auric bubble, we're centered between heaven and earth. Now, what I say is, if you focus on the top aspect, you will be focusing on your connection to the celestial realms. But if you're not grounded and connected to the earth as well, there's going to be an energetic imbalance in your aura. So this is why I say I believe Ametrine is part of all, healing all of these chakras, getting them into alignment and ensuring that there is a balanced connection so that we can actualize our divine plan on this earth. And that also includes connecting with those other people that are members of our soul pack. So when it comes to suitable uses, in this instance, I've actually put a photo up of what a pendant looks like, because clearly you can use Ametrine as jewelry items. Because it's not super hard, you would want to take care if you've got it as a ring or whatever. This pendant here comes from a jeweler's. I found it online and I went for this particular image, because you can see in this as a gem. And if you were to go back to where I was showing you the fake Ametrine, you can see this one has a real gold band, golden orange type band, as opposed to that pale yellow that is probably citrine grown, lab created. This is the genuine article. But to put this into perspective, I didn't realise when I found this site, but funnily enough, this is for sale online, not through one of the platforms. It is being sold online from a shop that is based in Western Australia. I would like to think that this lends itself to being a responsible, ethical provider, because in Australia we actually have consumer laws. So if somebody was falsely labelling an item, they can actually be sued. Certainly they wouldn't be able to charge the prices they're charging. So either way, this item, this pendant is being sold for 800 Australian dollars, and it is labelled as Ametrine. So there you go. Just gives you an idea on things. It's probably not a very big one either. Anyway, so yes, you can have it as jewellery. If you had the clusters or the big slabs that we've seen, you could probably put them in your ornament, but they would cost you a fortune. As environmental energizers, they certainly would be lovely to meditate with, to hold, and to try and connect into. But you can actually also get tumbled crystals, and you would be able to use those for gridding as well, and even put into your pockets and carry and wear upon your person. You could still do that as well. What are your thoughts? Actually, I should ask you here, can you think of any other ways to use Ametrine to enhance the quality of your life, I guess? So I've put together a couple of affirmations here. And of course, if you're new to the channel, you won't be aware. I make these affirmations as suggestions for you. Affirmations are better if they are done in your own words and they resonate with your inner self, shall we say. So you might find that the way I've done these actually resonate and you might want to continue to use them. That's fine. But it's better, I believe, if you can actually make it in your own words, because that is part of giving it power. The one at the top, obviously, is a very simple one, and I'll do an example of that, this one only, just in case you're not familiar with how to do an affirmation. But when you do an affirmation, you actually do it with a strong voice. You don't have to yell and scream at the universe, but you do it with strength, courage of conviction, okay? I am open to giving and receiving of unconditional and divine love. I am. That is how you would do an affirmation, okay? So you find the ones that resonate with you. You could actually do it because Ametrine is connected to, or associated with, connecting you to your soul pack of your soul brothers and sisters or whatever. You could actually do I am open to connecting with my soul pack here on earth. My divine partner, whatever, I am open to receiving divine guidance, all of this stuff. But the idea is, when you make your affirmations, it's best if it's a single statement and it's, very direct and to the point. But anyway, I'll leave those with you. So if somebody were to pull this particular crystal, I can't remember even if I have any Ametrine actually, in the tumbled stone form. I probably should go through my crystals a bit more. But if somebody did pull this out of my crystal lucky dip, I would actually see that as indicating that this person needs to be reminded that they are a divine specimen of the Creator, and there is gifts there for them. They are capable of doing wonderful things, of transforming their life, and to expand that light of love that they have within themselves, and that they would be wise to be fostering this connection, as I discussed it with the chakras, balancing the bobbin on the thread stuff, to get themselves in balance so that they can truly actualize their own divine potential, and start listening to their divine guidance, because their guides are there and they've got their back. That's what I would be saying to a person. So when it comes to caring for Ametrine, whether it is the genuine article from Bolivia or if it is the lab grown stuff or from anywhere else, it is fairly durable. Okay. It can scratch easily. So, and especially because it costs so much, even the synthetic stuff is a bit on the pricey side, I think. But you would want to keep it separate from the other crystals in your jewelry box if that's where you place them. You would want to give them plenty of space to be able to breathe, if you like, and to not come into contact with other harsh crystals that might scratch it. So, from an energetic perspective, well, actually, before we talk about that, let's talk about, if it gets dirty. Actually, so no, I would say, look, if you've got a really good piece and it's the raw, you probably would want to put it in some kind of protector, whether that's behind glass or whatever, to stop the dust getting on it. But otherwise, I would imagine, look, I would do it. I don't know if you would do it. And I'm not sure if you do decide to do it. Don't blame me. You've got a brain. Work it out if you're comfortable with it or not. I would probably be comfortable washing any dust off by holding it under flowing water, and that could be the tap as well, just to wash away any dust and stagnancies on the crystal if it needed it. Okay, but I wouldn't be leaving it to soak in water. It probably could cope with it, I think, but I'm not an expert. But I just couldn't leave it sitting there in a bucket of water. And this is sometimes recommended by metaphysical practitioners, that you leave your crystals to soak in mineral water or sparkling mineral water or salt water or whatever. I just wouldn't do that, okay, because it just doesn't feel right to me. But it may feel different for you. But anyway, just remember that if you do decide to put your crystals in water, you wouldn't be putting them under hot water, okay? You would not be using hot water, you would not be using harsh chemicals, and you certainly, if you're into the energy and charging aspect, you could put them out in the sunlight, so they say. I wouldn't be putting out Ametrine in the sunlight, not in the harsh Australian sunlight, because I guarantee you, at the very least, the purple is going to fade and look horrendous. I mean, if you were one of those people that really did believe that it was important for crystals to be exposed to sunlight, you could, and I've mentioned this in a few of them, because our sunshine is so harsh here in Australia. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful. It's stinking hot today, but my goodness, the skies are just stunning and the sun is very bright. I would be putting it in ambient sunlight underneath my grapevines. I'd be fine about leaving it out under a full moon. That wouldn't be an issue for me, because it's not going to do any damage. The other way, of course, is my old favourite, which is the selenite slab, selenite log, whatever you want to call it. And sometimes people such as myself, depending on the crystal and the shape of it, if it doesn't sit comfortably on a log itself, we might actually get a small sliver of selenite and place that on top of the actual cluster. And, I guess if it's just a small piece, I probably would leave it there clearing and cleansing for longer than I would if I left my crystals on a large slab, shall we say. Either way, you've just got to be able to trust your own intuition, your inner voice, as to the cleansing method that works for you or that you want to work with. And just keep it clean regularly. Just pay attention to it regularly. Give it some love on a regular basis. If you do feel the need, if you've got pendants, for example, to put them into a cup of water as part of cleansing away any grime. I should have said, because actually the pendant that I showed you before is on 9-carat gold when I was talking about the uses. Well, those metals need to be cleaned on a regular basis as well. Now, I will on occasion, and do this at your own discretion, because if it does any damage to the crystal, I'm not going to be liable for it. I will use a cup of water that has got... what are they called? The non-chemical, non-harsh dishwashing detergent. I can't remember what it's called. It's got no chemicals in it. They're just natural. I will use those and just let it soak maybe for a couple of minutes to get rid of the grime. And then I'll use a very soft toothbrush to get rid of the grime off the gold, okay, or off the silver. and then I will actually place it under running water to make sure all that chemical is removed, because actually it's not chemical, but if you use the organic stuff, the soapy type stuff, I don't want that interfering with my actual product. So I'll put that then under a tap, rinse it off, and then dry it with a soft cloth, and leave it out to get rid of any extra moisture. So when I say leave it out, it's in a safe spot on the bench or something like that, and then I'll pack it away a couple of hours later. So, my friends, that is about all the information I have that I can give you. I can't think of anything else on Ametrine. I found it an interesting exercise myself to do the research on it. I would really love to hear comments from, say, geologists or other collectors or even jewelers on their thoughts and beliefs. Or their understandings, maybe they say that it's amethyst and citrine because that's what the Russian stuff is. I don't have any confirmation about that. There's no evidence for me to know that, but this is my speculation. But anyway, I will love you, leave you, catch you on the next video. Have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye-bye for now.